Sky Power Radio and TV Services Studios, West Yorkshire, Leeds, Stansell Mountain. Welcome all on board our weekly civic education program today, Saturday, 27th of December 2025 at 17:20 UK time. Mustafa Jame is my name. Good evening. Assalamualaikum badingolu ngal kontong mobe dauda anibe wato watito konton rokolans nal bismillah na programu minka sudo jang loku ninyan temben sida civic education program nal badimalo Mustafa Jamme membe sirin programu kunna ing tembo Okay, they will continue under your features Sky Power Radio and TV Services Studios, West Yorkshire, Leeds, Stansell Mount Street name. And similar to Buntu program, civic education program, and accent Harit Mustafa Jam and Nekal Lensi Rajabi. I wanted to do the full version. Let me see if I can get this right. Where Sol will rectify that. Assalamualaikum, BCBM full pay Miss Chalmini do Sky Power Radio and TV Services Studios, West Yorkshire, Leeds, Stansell Mount. Lowry, Sunday, 27th of December 2025. Sol Jeng will rectify that. Okay, civic education program is back on air on the streaming live here. On all the platforms, come ninko pa hodi defere ko seven buneko or every week we've got our panelists today here with me in the studio is Mr. Suleiman Jeng, Aziz Bojong and Suleiman Baji, the double souls and alphabet A for Alpha, which is Aziz Bojong here with us in studios. Bon sol ñu bayla nga nuyo ci
waaw man nuyo quickly maa ngi nuyu suma boss Aziz Bojang yow maa ngi la nuyu di la gërëm di la santa di nuyu ñoo xam ne ñoo ñu nekk di seetaan di ñu déglu fuñ mun di ne di leen ne jaarama yéen a tax ñuy ñëw di sawar di ñëw di waxtaan ak yéen te nag topic bi dafa am solo dafa important trop because gis nañ recently is like mass promotion bi in the Gambia so li ñoo seet tey mooy human resource management of the police ak the role of senior officers mass promotion si that dafa am some positive or negative effects on the service. So man, I'll just look at suñu waxee human resource management mooy nit ñoo xam ne ñoom ñoo nekk ci bérébu liggéeykaay naka nga leen a mun a manager naka nga leen a mun a dimbale ba gaay mun a am yokkute mun a def seen liggéey ti ni mu waree ak ni ko luwa bi terale loolu bokk na ci pour nga jàngal leen mooy training jox leen di right di required training pour ñu mun a def seen liggéey professionally mun a def seen liggéey duñ ci lor ñoo xam ne ñoom la ñooy liggéeyal o duñ lor ñoo xam ne ñoom la ñooy aar su fekkee ne ñu ngi wax ci police bi gis nañ before 2016 police bi was almost an extended political arm of Yaya Jammeh dañ ko gisoon as an instrument pour toroxal nit ñi pour subdue leen pour make sure tiital nañ leen so loolu tax na ba 2016 bi changes bi amee ñëpp d'accordoon nañ ne police bi security service bi in general dafa need on reform more especially police bi So reform bi gis nañ si TRRC bi make nañ some recommendations. Recommendations yooyu mooy policy sanse seen taxawaay ak soppi seen doxin. Ni ñooy sanse seen taxawaay ak soppi seen doxin mooy police bi njël benni liggéeyam mooy aar bakkeni doomi aadama bi ak aar seen alel ak seen kaaraange ba pare di gëstu foo xam ne am na naka la sudut noonu ay crime bi ñooy sos gaay lifin ko aar ko tax be du am so amoon nañ tamit suggestions yoo xam ne si TRRC bi am na police yoo xam ne dañ leen tuumaloon o security service officers yoo xam ne dañ leen tuumaloon ne defoon nañ naka la sudut noonu ñooñu dañ leen war a génne ci security sector bi waaye ba tey foog na am na ñoo xam ne benn o ñaar o ñetta ñoo xam ne ba tey ñu ngi sol uniforme bi si army bi si police bi so fi mu nekk nii dama bàyyi Aziz Bojang nañu bari xamuñ ko waaye he was a senior police officer ba pare Aziz dafa nekku ne only dafa am practical experience bi waaye Aziz dafa study policing up to master's level ak management so kooku doo ko wax mbiri police xam na di practical aspect xam na di theoretical aspect so tey li ñooy discuss mooy strategic planning for the police ak role si police yi war a am the number of officers yoo xam ne ñooñu lañ war a am si any unit ak looking at the police discipline ak yu demeek yooyu so ma bàyyi Aziz moom it mu nuyoo dugga ci so I'll come out in a bit.
Okay, Aziz. Aziz, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yes. Thank you very much, Suleiman. Jërëjëf waaye balaa may dugga ci biir waxtaan bi comme amaat na mu xóot dama bëggoon ñu may suñ brother Suleiman Badji mu dugga nuyoo and then we can continue with the conversations di ngeen ko allow.
Yes, by all means.
I'm still driving, Mustafa, but anyhow, can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Greetings to all of your listeners, because you're looking at a vast demographic of people who are watching your program. Sometimes we just don't forget. I know your emphasis is we need to speak in our local languages, which is the target audience. But there are people who are also interested in what is happening in Gambia, and they would not be able to speak our languages. So greetings to all of them, and thank you for joining us on Mustafa's Sky Radio program, which is the civic duty or civic education program that we present every Saturday. I am glad to join my brother Suleiman Jeng and my brother Aziz Isati on the platform, and hopefully my sister they will join us. But it's a pleasure to be here. Mustafa, I'm just gonna say hello to everybody. Ngamo be kontong programoto, and then I'm gonna mute so Aziz can continue while I get situated. I just got home.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, so. Yeah, Aziz.
Yes, Mustafa, inimbarabat. Di kacha be dendin men na wala mu promotional men police yake bara mandam police da mala na mira janning police na immigration fana jele ye promotion o ke adi mo jamal le promote promotion o ni nak ate kumaya ta bake doku kono kati momo be doku wala ikala finina la ye nyato tasoto woto nin be promotion fola jang lafta lamoy lal ni jibe lal senin understand ko ma fo nin kamma ko e manyang molu promote la lafa kuyata fenkilime wala mu kurawt.
That's right.
Mo buka dua kurango lafa bari mo kola kairo kan mo buka balangala. Memu dorong wala mu mintiko polisia be nyamen adum womandang polisia damala. Mansakunda la bunda o bunda wala doku bunda o bunda hana manke mansakundati. La faro nyanta sunna anyanta denna fennela. O fengo mumuneti komen bi na jeri nyato nin organisation le be bulu yemiro soto ko ilafta ni organisation ay futa dula kar wala ay futa a certain stage adum pour ka futa je mbesula la nyinela in terms of material, in terms of human resources, and in fana structure men you need to put in place that will help you achieve the task that is ahead. So promotions should be based on a strategic plan that envisage a certain goal, and then you look at the task, and those tasks will be divided accordingly, defined clearly the roles and responsibilities. Based on that, you can now put the human resources accordingly, place them accordingly. This is what I expect from the Gambia Police Force. I must say that I have not seen any strategic plan that justifies this promotion. I am not also quite sure if these promotions align with the security sector reform. I cannot tell whether this is the outcome of the security sector reform. What I am concerned about here is the effective management and control of the police, effective management of resources, and the efficient operations of the police. Is this promotion, are these promotions really meant to address those key concerns in terms of resource management, in terms of efficiency in service delivery? This is something that is not very clear to me. Now, that is one aspect. The other aspect itself is the police organizational ground, because I have seen in this promotion, they have created another 2 Assistant Inspector General of Police. One is for service support and one is for police intervention unit. In police organizational structures or task organizations, police organizations are set or tasks are set into subunits or subsystems. And those subsystems are mainly 3: operations, administration, and auxiliary, which in this case, we can call it service support. But in the Gambia Police Force, you have these operations, you have admin, you have crime management, and then you have service support and the other units that they also now created. When you look at the organizational tasks, crime management falls directly under operations. So in the first place, there should not have been Assistant Inspector General of Police for crime management. And in my view, in my humble view, there will be a conflict of reporting or a duplication. because the crime management that is on the operation should have reported directly to AIG operations. But now when you take out AIG operations, take out crime management from AIG operations, what is left for the AIG operations? We don't. Now, when you come to service support should have come under, or PIU should have come under service support. That is auxiliary unit. And I'll give you the breakdown for each of these units. In police management, any unit that deals directly with the public, that interface with the public on a 24 hours basis directly, that unit is an operational unit. Any unit that serves the unit that deals with the public, that unit is under admin. So for instance, police personnel unit, they don't deal directly with the public. They deal directly with the police officers that works directly, that interacts directly with the public. So that is operation. Any unit that provides backup service to the daily operations, to the general duties, that unit is called service support or auxiliary. PIU are not meant for 24 hours interface with the public. The PIU, which is a form police unit, are supposed to support the ongoing general duty operations, which means they fall under auxiliary services. The police crime records, they are auxiliary services. The police licensing units, all of those are under that unit. But now when you have all of those units having their own heads that are equivalent to their reporting units, it brings in some conflict. So for me, this is really a cause for concern, not only in terms of resources, we will talk about resources, but in terms of even command and control. And it's going to weaken the command itself, it's going to weaken the ranking structure and many other things. Mustafa, I'll stop here and let maybe Saul jump in if he wishes.
I think Saul is driving home, you know, but as is my thoughts here, my observation would be, this mass promotion, is it necessary? Would you say is necessary?
It's not.
It is not necessary.
Yes.
So would you say it's an extended political arm now? The police is turning to be an extended political arm of the government. Would you say that?
No, I wouldn't say that, because I don't think this is political. I think the best I can define it is a waste of resources. Simply because I have not seen any justification for this. Police did not come out to say that they are overwhelmed by crime and that the reason why they could not execute their duties properly is because there is no command and control and they needed these acts. At best, what I see happening is that they are rewarding so-called hard work. And you can reward hard work in many ways, but without even raising in ranks. You can increase their salary. You can create other incentives. Ranks are important because they also comes with responsibility, but resources as well. What we are now seeing in the Gambia is that you will see a commissioner who has no portfolio, who has no resources. I mean, it's kind of a disgrace.
Honestly, Aziz, this is a serious matter, you know, because so-called promotions, that is unnecessary, wasting our resources. that is a call for concern, Aziz?
Yes, it's a cause for concern. But I'm not blaming on even the police at this level. I'm blaming the Personnel Management Office.
Oh, PMO, okay.
Yes, I'm blaming the PMO and maybe the PSC, because they are supposed to be the oversight of the police administration. And these promotions cannot come by without approval from PMO. So the question becomes, what justification did they provide to the PMO for them to convince them to approve such a large-scale promotion in the Gambia Police Force? Even if they have provided that, one would have also scrutinized those arguments and even ask whether there are no other alternatives beside promotion, if that is what they are looking for.
Okay, Aziz, my concern here is who recommend promotions and who endorses promotions? Because this is, if it's waste of resources, I am concerned.
So the police will come up, from what I know, and I think that's the practice right now.
Okay, all right, okay,
Is
please.
that every year, the police will come up with a budget estimate. That estimation will include probably expansions that they want to do. This will also include ranking structures and so on and so forth. And then they present this before PMO or Ministry of Finance to get approval. And here, this is where now the ministry or the scrutinizing body should have asked questions. Why do you need this? What's the justification? What are the crime data telling us? Provide us some data to say we need more people in Serekunda because this is happening and we are not able to.
This is why, Aziz, I said, you don't think there is some politics in this?
No, there is no politics. I think, in my little view, is that police and, in fact, security service sector have this psychology of creating fear factor within the politicians to say, Nalman Yinke Ninkuket and Tola responsibility. And nobody wants to, in their fear, they will rush to approve anything. Because at the level of cabinet, there is someone who is so much conscious about security to be able to question the police. Why do you think this is happening?
Okay.
Yes. So this is the case. And so whenever they come up with something, it's like, this is what is going to happen. We've seen recently, about a year ago, they've recruited 1,000 police officers. 1,000, that's unprecedented in the history of the Gambia. What is the justification? Even if there are challenges, could these resources be transformed into equipment, into transportation? Could they do some things differently? Because from what I am seeing now, we are riding on the goodwill of the resources that is being pumped into the country through the security sector reform. It's not sustainable, it's not gonna last. And when we dry out, we are going to be left with a bloated police force.
That is, Aziz, that is corruption.
I leave that for Saul and others to come, the two Solomons.
Okay, Saul Baji.
Yes. Again, thank you very much, guys, for inviting me. Mustafa.
Yes,
I'm
I'll
going to
take the title, as you're aware, the security sector reform, and then the mass promotion that happened in the Gambia, as you took us through. But from my understanding, what I'm trying to ask is it an extent, as I said, there's no politics in it, but the corrupt. Why? What do you think? Is there any need for mass promotion and all that? What do you think? Your thoughts on this, Saul?
Well, I mean, again, just so law enforcement officers who are listening, I don't think anyone would question, perhaps they can question me because I've left the security sector since, 93? When I came here, I did a little bit of it.
while I was going to college. But the likes of Suleiman Jeng, who most Gambians who in our age group or a little bit younger know, and Aziz, of course, I don't think anyone would question their credibility or their integrity or their service or love for country in terms of security. I will begin with that. So if we all settle and understand that these people are genuine because they've served and they love to see the police or security sector reforms, that would empower our law enforcement because a nation cannot develop. I went to Gambia this summer and my uncle told me, he just retired, he said to me, Saul, you cannot have a nation develop without security. It has to have security in every part and parcel of the national programs that they implement. You have to talk about security. We cannot develop a country outside or absent of security, right? So the question now becomes the security sector reform that Aziz just talked about. Ngadiamu mandika kaola. Fonying security sector reform mo meng Aziz kamen for. Ko ebening men for kanko kodode dunteje. I heard somebody mention like $1 billion is somehow has been spent in the security sector reform. Are they doing the security sector reform based on the recommendations of people who have expertise? Because I'm sure they have tapped into some expertise from people outside to help them reform the security sector. The problem that you mentioned in Mustafa about promotions, more barely after promotion or police, because cost of living is high, number one. So you would talk about maybe raising the income of law enforcement so that we can curb the corruption because of Abejele. You just mentioned that, Mustafa. So the question then becomes people who are doing good work and deserve to be promoted, shouldn't we promote them? Of course, every one of us would agree that if people have worked hard and annually the police does promotions, that they should consider promoting the people who deserve to be elevated because that's how you elevate people. People have to be moved up in the ladder so that they can feel like everybody is being rewarded for their hard work. If we have a country where we have about 2.7 million, I think that's what the number has been the past year or so from the survey data, then the question now becomes, do we have to do a ratio proportion of how many citizens do we have versus how many law enforcement officers? That has to be factored in. I'm sure Mustafa Aziz knows this better than I do.
Yes.
You cannot just all of a sudden jump and say, all right, the Gambia has a lot of crime going on. Let's recruit 1,000 police officers. You have to look at the data to say, if crime is happening in this part of the local community, how much resources should we put there to make sure that we control that crime level? You're not just going to say, because there's crime in Serekunda, let's hire 1,000 police officers. And Mustafa, the problem with that is if you hire 1,000 police officers and it turns out that there's duplicity in the services that has been provided and that some police officers are not utilized because we have excess capacity, then there's going to be frustration and people will lose hope in the system. These things, nyantale ka factor in. Even though Aziz Bafala, because Aziz has to do what Aziz has to do because he still has a love for these people. But I also do, and Suleiman Jeng do, Jaws, because I always wear this. I say, back the blues. So we will back them. But as far as when it comes to administration and the way they run the affairs of the police, people have to ask questions, and there are concerns. If you have duplicity of service, there's going to be frustration, and that becomes a problem in terms of how you manage the law enforcement. As is here meant for in terms of the police department having, or law enforcement having those three categories. Natra PIU la doko momenti, when there's an incident where the PIU needs to respond because the police has done their job to this level, and then the PIU needs to come in, and another unit has to come in, because that's how you control crime or maybe some kind of a protest or whatever activities that are happening, right? Ide PIU ta, yewolke, on a daily activity basis, you can fit all the time. They would be less effective as they would be if you keep them in the background, that they only respond when there's reinforcement needed for them to come and take care of a situation. Every day, PIU betay more butel be cool keka. And then you look at the problem. And then I mean what I believe, because I think Adama Barrow is not learning or hasn't learned from Yahya Jammeh's books. And he's going back to the same way of managing our country in a manner that is consistent with what Yahya Jammeh did. That's what I believe. That election binakane, we think there's going to be an uprising because the population, people are now jittery, they're worried about the corruption. Let's have a lot of law enforcement officers to make sure that if people rise, then we can curb them. Oboro is making a big mistake. There's 2.7 million people. You must have to hire 2 million police officers or 1.5 million police officers to be able to manage the affairs of the country if people rise. There's no way he can do it. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. What happens with law enforcement is you have to build that relationship between the law enforcement and the population so that they understand that the police are there to protect them, to protect property, to enforce the law. That's their primary goal. How do we make sure that people can go to bed without worrying about a burglary, worried about somebody coming in and breaking into their house, so that they can wake up in the morning with so much energy to go and feast for themselves and pay the taxes that would pay the law enforcement officers to continue to protect us. It's just a simple thing. This is how it works. Police all la doko momenti wala nyindi ko ni wulta lolu ntela doko momenti nga make sure de nyindi ngo be findikan soko na kata school ka make sure di ngo finta ta school mo kana barama mo kana kukala, because that child sama atelebina kila man sukunda la doko lati atelebina some invention na la purka banko da nim kukala. Anything that happens to that little kid about traumatized for the rest of their life. So my job, my main duty is to make sure I protect life and property. That's just there it is, life and property. That's your main goal. If you see something that is suspicious, either you encourage people to say something or you intervene and curb it and stop it before it happens. That's the goal of the police. Before an incident takes place, your main goal is to make sure that you prevent it. Prevention. Because when something goes out awry, then it's difficult to manage it. When the kids come out and protest, what do they do? They respond. And when they respond, they exacerbate the situation because they don't know how to de-escalate. So promoting police officers, the senior officers, and creating that duplicity is going to be a problem. As is called for them. Until I believe you decentralize. And this is going to be part of what you guys have heard. There's this conversation about coalition for system change. What I believe, what we will put on the table, and I'm not going to divulge on everything we're going to talk about, you will decentralize the police department. They will have an inspector general who will be in Banjul City, capital city. But you will have police inspectors in every district. And then you create avenues where you have different police and law enforcement officers. There has to be what you would call state police, but in Gambia, we don't have a state like simple. You can have district police. In a different category. The PIU must be dismantled. Give them a different category of where we have different ways of responding to. Make it state police and train them to be able to make sure that they can respond when you have an uprising. You have to have police many along Western West Coast region. Let them walk there to protect that environment. And then they will cross paths between the districts. And that would be the state police who would be able to have the right to go to every district. You have to create those powers. But Inspector General of Police, Banjul General, he's answerable to Adama Barrow and all this nonsense. And the police commission, this is where I'm going to end. The police commission's job would be to make sure that they manage the affairs of the police. My question is, as is coming for, did they present a budget to the National Assembly? And this is our major problem. When the National Assembly's job is to run the budget. They are supposed to be the people who would look at what we have in our coffers and decide whether we can do something or not. Adama Barrow cannot sit in the executive office and decide, oh, the police needs to do it. This is a big problem. We don't see that in any developed nation. The National Assembly has the power of the purse. They should know how much money is coming in, who is giving us loans, who is giving us grants, how much do we have in our national coffers at the central bank, what are our priorities? And then they can tell the executive to write a budget and present it to the National Assembly, the ministries and all the other branches, even the National Assembly and the judiciary, present us a bill. This is what you want to do the following year. And Adama Barrow cannot sit in the middle of the year and just create ministries. This is a crazy country we have, Mustafa. So this whole thing is a frustrating thing.
I know.
Because police get to promote, but it's a police promote law nyama kamulta ke police dealer. It's just politics. That's what I believe. Politics.
Thank you, Saul. You about so one thing you did mention about the budget the police or the old sifa mandra budget kono, but as we speak, Chorno Sow came out, chair came out to say office of the president, they've allocated 30 million to them, but they ignore National Assembly will approve, but the office of the president for president at all, they ignore that, and then they went with 64,000. This is 64 million or so. So instead of 30 million approved by the National Assembly, they went with 64, and nothing came out of it. So, what for National Assembly when the Malo saying will Munsembele be able water wasifa. But that aside, so each of our thoughts on this is clearly there is politics and corruption in this, the mass promotion.
Yes, yes, because again, Mustafa, I am saying this, and Aziz can agree with me, and Saul can agree with me or disagree. Sir Dawda Jawara was not perfect. The PPP was not perfect. But by God, can we go back and look at the books and find out what they did to run the affairs of our country? And then pick the good things that are there in those coffers. The information is in the archives there in Banjul. They know where to find it. Go dig into that and find out, how did the police run the affairs of the country back then? And look at what is good and take that and apply that to today's time.
I think and improve on a copy of that.
Yes, and not only that, I am just happy. I once said we don't need to bring new things. Let's go back to what policing used to be.
Wallahi. I mean, this whole thing, Mustafa, is a waste of time. Go ahead.
I will tell you, police organization, during the 80s, going backwards, we have what we call force order that gives an estimation of the strength. And that strength is by unit and by station. Each station who needs to be there, the kind of ranks that needs to be there. And that has to be approved by government. And PSC will have that copy and Treasury will have that copy. In that copy, you will know if someone is transferred from Basse, you will know the rank, and then you will know who needs to go there. If you go through an exam, we do have a refresher course and efficiency bar. When you first pass out, after serving for 1 year, you are due to go back for a refresher course. And then when you come out from your refresher course, you have to go through efficiency bar. And then you can be eligible for promotion. When you pass the efficiency bar, it's an examination. At any rank that you are, if you pass efficiency bar, you will know when you are going to be promoted, depending on the vacancies. And you can look at the estimation and even yet bitikote afoeko dukarendonto in sankarimbe jolale because I'll be promoted to sergeant. Isi ofono ila muswe because the vacancies are already there. It is a position lonely in the examination. If you come first and there is only one position, you will for promoted. If you come third and there are 3 vacancies, you will be promoted.
So in summary, it was more effective before than now.
Than now.
Li assess the game security is regimented.
Exactly.
So they get regiment more discipline.
Okay.
So in time is like senior officers si bariwood and police station singa dem nga feka fa inspector dañ tut new sergeant mostly ñoo fa de neka nga am couple nga am first class. So time bobu there was a lot of discipline. Police dañ de respect sen senior si dañ de xamne as an ASP su joxe an order the inspector do ko challenge o henna du disobey order bi. So rank si bari undon. So da nga gis ne henna si divisional si head si nga de gis ASP as the OC. Mom lañ de wa OC. Ñoo de sol uniforms you wear he. So every division am nga an OC. So Musuma is like chief superintendent at that time. I think it was the Hamadi this RSMB. RSMB fogna mo nekon chief.
No. In fact, chief superintendent would have been the station officer for Banjul.
Yeah. So Ben, I think Bima Faneka, I just saw one chief superintendent of police.
Yes.
Understand? So time being started as cadet ASPs. Tamsir Jassy was the DIG then. Mom daf nyune, there is a position beginner as commissioners of police why you have to be a graduate purunga am that role. So it was just man Kinti Agba. So we were hoping soon pass it out as recruits. Didn't you promote, confirm you promote me to police commissioners? Because I'm both na Abu Jeng, I don't know. The late 13 Baji was away, Mungdon study Fogna in the UK. I remember after Chilanyu, and then he was writing his thesis. So graduates, come Nico Asis Wahe, you jangon for policy time bariwun. Discipline bangfa. Ngam people like Jamme Konta. You also man even with my rank, Suma Duga office Jamme Konta. Damade halat. Nakala fa duge, nakala toge, how Osula oye, then they feel something again and achio. That was the discipline in the police at the time. Why think like any legi that them obviously IG sa hen nga fake of police digeni understand. So it's like respect being negative.
I'm not solo correct. Just pin it there. I'm not solo drop all. But what problem in Fala Joge, Nyaka respect with disrespect be order
Ben, because I remember ki Konta won on Nama. That money Jeng, look, you are a young growing officer. So buge am sataranga si policy, avoid all policy jigeni. Don't ever have a relationship with policy jigeni because once amga correct, losing as a credibility. Kogodula respect, Harita missing say or Hamna Yangi Nekanyum, they would also imitate Dunla Jota respect. So Lolo Fimnekani, Domunane, senior police officers, they couldn't neka hale jigeni, policy jigeni. So Lolo is one factor bohamne munge erode police discipline be. Nyarel be mass promotion si. Yo yangi am legi ASP ñu de neka station officers. Lo hamne henna inspector moko don neka or a sergeant legi ASP mo neka station officer. Yangi am commissioner si ñu de neka divisional commander si or assistant commissioner si. Legi ñata AIGs nga am. Assistant Superintendent of Police. But I think the only one Yimahamon Moy Chongan. I don't know if there was any other AIG at the time.
Chongan Lawon and yes, among about three because Bolisa was admin, and then Yangi Amon, I think. I don't know, one of the Zandams, more on service support.
So the is hamga police with the farm structure. Yangi am operations. Operations should be the head ko hamne crime management the fawaraneka on the operations.
Exactly.
So nga am AIG admin ko hamne is responsible for the internal and external administration of the police. So crime management hen na ko commissioner la moneka why don't am crime management ko hamne AIG la. PIU musumagis PIU ko hamne dafa am AIG. So PIU AIG lan moy role am for instance. So nga am AIG crime management, nga am AIG operations. So ñaar ñooñu ko AIG operations mo wara neka immediate bossy AIG crime management. Crime management should be answerable to operations. Legi nga am ñoom ñaar yim neka AIGs. Let's say, for example, assist AIG operations. Why by length of service, man mako living upper service. You promote as an AIG, naked in the same rank, but by length of service, man mako senior. And if I am answerable to him, lolu discipline bobu naka la mo ñëwé?
Yeah, Boss Suleiman,
Okay.
I think the more we speak, the more this problem be fan la dore. Why? Damay delu ci li solve about policing during Jawara's time. Gis nga very clearly so duggé police si time bobu di nga xam fan ngay em. So duggé as an officer, di nga xam ne you be promoted to ASP to commander. So duggé as just an original constable, the highest rank you will attain will be chief inspector to your retirement. And those ranks are really very, very valuable. Te ci jamono bobu so duggé as an officer, police bi dañ la dé prepare for training. Because so pass out after nga def sa rotation bobu, you will spend maybe about 3 years. You will go to all divisions. Pour nga liggéey fofu nga am that experience. Bo jeexalé loolu, you come back, they prepare you for overseas training. I think hand-on lañ daan def. Noonu lañ daan def. Nga xam ne yow by the time ngay jógee foofu, all these skills and quality bi nga soxla to become a police officer or to become a leader, di nga ko am. The last badge si xëy na ñi benefit from boobu mooy ñoom Siaka Sonko balaa coup d'état bi am. Coup d'état bi bam amee ba tey structure yaa ngi fa woon waaye changes mu ngi am around 1998 being decided to amalgamate the gendarme into the police force after the confederation tase. Being in the loolu, being started that amalgamation, they call for a security sector reform. So li ma bëgg a waxati fii mooy bu ñu yaakaar ne security sector reform ci bii jamono la start déedéet ci jamono yi Jawara am nañ security sector reform, and that security sector reform ci jamono yi Jawara was wide because it was beyond just the forces but include the judiciary. It include even the law reforms ci amoon ci jamono boobu. But to the police, then among assistance from UK, ku ñëw to work with the Gambia Police Force. Then among a police advisor and a training advisor. That reform culminated in the production of this document, this 5 years strategic plan. This 5 years strategic plan, for me, is really still relevant. Strategic plan bi lim ñëwee lim njëkk a gis mooy Gambia Police Force ci jamono boobu dañ am only 4 divisional commands that runs beyond just kind of run through different administrative regions. For instance, so like Mansa Konko was also running Farafenni. So they decided that no, nañu ko expand léegi ba every administrative local government administrative region na am itam a regional police command bu reflect loolu. This was the thinking behind it, and loolu moo indi woon these divisional commissioners. Then from there they also kind of created an organizational setup and a command setup boo xam ne bii will reflect this. So readee bii even the last station in Basse ñaata nit lañ fa war a am, what ranking structure was supposed to be there yëpp a ngi fi, and this was still operational and is relevant. Fan la mbir mi change bi Yaya Jammeh ñëwee and started promoting the military. Police feel ne military same rank is above them. Parce que léegi bu ñu demee to meetings, then they feel ne dañoo ne yow sergeant nga you cannot sit with an officer, which is wrong. A sergeant can be a commander of a police unit. It's not the rank, it's the command that you have.
Okay, Aziz.
Because of that, let me learn. I'm just bringing how it all came about. Police quickly decided that they are going to review their ranking structures. And then they created additional ranks, commissioners, just to open it up. There was no justification in the first place. During that reform, I personally disagreed. Because Nimalen Wahmoy, Munon Nanyo increase pay. And I once confronted a police officer Suma last week. Neko tey, bunga don joh rank, wala ñu joh la pay. What would you take? Maniko, what is the significance of the rank? Is it the pay or just the rank? Whatever is the pay. Maniko, usunna johon pay without rank, would it make any difference? Because you can do that. In here, Nyun Fee, a divisional commander will be just a chief superintendent. But they are well paid. So it's not about the rank. But this is where things change. And then it became worse. I'm going to tell you this. Because every IG now thought that Pumunela, you are a good IG, you need to promote more people. It also came about at a time where
in fact, I think that was what I wanted to go in before Ngenyo. Because after the promotion, so set a social media be all of them are saying thank you IGP Toure, so the Hagisne is like for them, IGP Toure Molen promote is not their competence,
exactly.
It's not their qualifications, exactly. It's not anything lo hamne personally achievement go in their service, more than promote len. So IGP Toure Molen promote the photography. I need to promote Aziz Bojang. I need to promote this. So Mota Yangi some other officers they've been longer in the service. You need disgruntled. Mangi said Watson Gambia, I think last year Nyungi appoint on ki Ablai Sane fale Interpol as acting AIG. So Koku Yango appoint acting AIG depuis last year. Balanga promote somebody else, Koku Dangora confirm. So confirm lo Koku, nga bae ko, nga dem appoint somebody else as AIG. So what is that telling? So I'm going to that they kind of bring about indiscipline. Because that disgruntled officer nga promote a new AIG si Kwam, the mom he was an acting AIG for a whole year. Naka nga expect ne Koku dina muna respect the new AIG king appoint. Because Ben I feel like mom
Suleiman, one discipline aspect of it, sir, man the makote de guma side. Man suma concern moy. Wana lenne
oil and security service, my regiment be. If the regiment was in there, discipline was in there, we would have just been civilians.
Hamga wana lenne si jamano ijawara bala ñu lay promote dañ lay train. Hamga wana la lu. You either go overseas for officers or today local, you do efficiency bar, refresher and efficiency bar. My concern here is, when you promote, bring they train adequate. Tarnabe, Sundeme UN mission, sometimes with our ranks, then like, oh, you are chief superintendent, yes, or you are ASP, yes. What degree do you have? And some of those people with those ranks end up becoming patrol officers in the missions. Trust me, there were senior police commissioners who ended up just becoming patrol officers because they cannot man the position, because they are not adequately trained. So man's concern here, because at a time, of course, gender promotion, gender mainstreaming, which I love so much. Why gender mainstreaming, lim large moi, capacitize the female by training them adequately. Why solely randomly promote them, they are not going to be effective, and that's not helping. They don't have this time.
Okay, Aziz Solbaji, affairs cool. It's all over the place, man. Honestly, because the Gambia police force, like Suleiman Jan mentioned, no structure, no discipline. And then Aziz break this down to say that Yaya Jammeh was, Yaya Jammeh, it all started during Yaya Jammeh time about the police and the soldiers sort of thing. So how can we resolve this? What are your thoughts, Paji?
Well, I mean, I've listened to the guys who actually were part of the services, Saul and Aziz, and I'm glad he has the manuscript, or he's got the information.
Strategic plan, the strategic plan.
Yeah. Yes. So why aren't we going back to look at that? And one of the reasons is because Yaya Jammeh has muddied the previous administration's way of running the government to the extent that people just don't trust that Sadara did anything good. Okay? Because that's what he did. He played with our minds to not believe in most of the things that happened prior to him coming. And he enjoyed, Yaya Jammeh himself enjoyed and has a lot of respect for what was there. I mean, having known him and worked with him at the State House, I know he understands that everything he gained in that country must have had a lot to do with what Sadauda provided all of us. And this is another issue that I will talk about then in better. The frustration of Membeke and the Newell Kabo to go take flight, risking their lives and dying. Nisada Mo Avenue creating for us to have what we are talking about today with all of the experience we had. We would have also been part of the statistics. But I'm okay. Somebody was mentioning Kafogo Independence Day. I know Aziz knows this. Koni Independence Day, at the end of the Independence Day, Sarada used to give kids 50 buduts or for 25 or something that has the picture of there. It's a token of showing dedication or love for country. These are little things that people remember to these days. Some 40-something years, more than you remember, back in the days, the independence kanyine din tolla. Ndanga remember tol busra nkata independence ngake marakizale and indasilame. We used to rotate. These were days, me alonko, people were teaching us about civic duty and love for country, right? But Yaya, just to make sure that people trusted in the way he was running the government, that he alone knew how to do it, he had to damage. I destructional menke about how we elevate the country from where it started. He impacted that. This is why we are having this problem. But back to this question that you asked, Mustafa. The training that I had, I did a little bit of security with automotive companies, College. So having learned what I learned, and Aziz knows this, and I hope he can, substantiate my claim. You have to have matrices, okay? The matrix has to be 4 matrix. You're looking at law enforcement, the police. If this guy, Toure, did that, we wouldn't be having people accusing him of nepotism and favoritism, because if you have the matrix, Suleiman Jeng graduated from 6th form, and he went through training, and he has spent 10 years in the service as his Kamenfo. We have posted him across the length and breadth of the country. Because I remember my stepdad used to go to Mansa Congo, Georgetown, Bakau. They posted him in all the places, Janabina, Banjul, and then he got promoted to become a commander. So you have to have that experience, but then they're looking at your credentials. Aziz went to Gambia High, a graduate. He went to the UK and has his master's degree and came back. Aziz is in the police, or while he was in the police, he went to study and came back. Aziz has gone to all of these districts. He has the experience. He knows the culture and how crime is handled in different areas. So Aziz, there's a position that's available. Aziz applies for the position. The Inspector General of Police or the Police Commission, in this case, this is where they should be critical, because the IGP can be seen as kind of favoring certain people because I will not do quality. But the Police Commission is not going to look at anything. Aziz Yala Prudential present Kafogo, I want to become an AIG. They look at Aziz's history and his service. Then they ask for some of the rewards he must have gotten. Aziz is training killer. Aziz, what kind of performance management assignment or mendiala for the whole entire year or the 3 years? what this Aziz accomplished. You have to have those records, which is what we do in our school, in the school environment. At the start of the year, I have my assistant principal come and observe me in the classroom informally to see how I'm doing. Then I will record, I was sent in with feedback to say, when I went to Saul's class, this is what I found him doing. Our teaching is LEQ. This is the subject area, which is part of his teaching plan, right? I want to address, and this is how we interacted with the kids. Then you sit down. A month and a half later, you're going to sit down with your assistant principal and say, all right, this is the plan of the school district. This is our plan for 2025, 2026. Out of this, you need to pick what you're going to do with the number of kids that you're going to work with to promote and make sure that they pass the SOL, which is the state exams, for English and math and any other subject. But English and math are the most fundamental. So I select the kids. I choose Mustafa, Aziz, and Suleiman Jeng to be the students that I'm going to be targeting, because these are their grades right now from the exam that we just did. At the end of the year, I want to make sure that these kids, at a minimum, would have gained 10 points against the points that they have to show that they have improved from what I got. And that I have to work on for year bang, and I need to present that. Now, if I fail to present a passing grade or 10 points for every single one of you, they're not going to hold me accountable. But then if promotions come, they're going to look at it and say, okay, should we give Saul a 5% raise or 2% raise? They have to factor these things. You told us that this is what you're going to work on, and we trusted that you're going to do it. At the end of the year, if you didn't come to us and say, I'm having a problem, I need to figure this out, and then at the end of the year, you did not meet your goal, because these are called SMART goals.
The thing is the same thing in the police. It's not like a supposition beginning that I want to apply. I think the first thing they need to look at is to look at the qualifications of the potential people.
For promotion.
Promotions. They have to look at your length of service. Bitpare is like, this is competency, performance.
That's right.
Maselek Mustafa Agio, 4 officers. Legi, you have to do this competency test and then see. So pass it. You have the amnen for second. You promote them. You put them into external institutions. You have the amna third, fourth. Then you dinga hamne limo is limitations. Next time you'll be available. Dinga try to improve yourself. Make sure competency test with dinga pass.
Yes.
So if you take any legi, my worry is they had so many AIGs. The next thing, because rank with the says, and then the next you create another DIG position. You am nyar or nyeti DIGs, or you am Inspector Generals of Police. So hamga this the first saturate low service with the far them to a point the family Boy Scout.
Correct.
The as police, the Faneka, like, it just an organization is just there.
Yep.
So because Munuma understand, to be honest.
So
Banaya nga promo these mass promotions. Fan la vacancies in the first place.
Yep. So I'm glad you mentioned.
You have new dande or the AIGs you have retire. So send positions here open. Dafa am commissioners you have dañ retire or dañ days in positions are open dañ leen wara feel. I don't see any of that. These are just new positions you have created for the sake of creating it. So legi am nañ all these mass officers. Lan la what is the impact of these promotions on the security? Has the security improved in the country? Given during that mass promotion, you get another has the Forex Bureau. So, Yangi am so many officers, Yangi am so many recruits, and you cannot even see the police presence in our streets. You cannot see the police presence in our community.
Misplaced priorities, last Tom. So, Lumadon Daniel Moine, if you look at based on what you just said, so if you say you're going to have the police has this 10-year plan of improving security by a certain percentage, right? If the crime level has reached and ticked up to about 25%, and the job of the police is to reduce it to 15 or 10%. Then you have to assign everybody from top to bottom what their role is. You give them goals and say, your job is this, your job is this. At the end of the year, you evaluate len. But when it comes to promotion, Saul, you're looking at Suleiman Jeng's qualifications. He has a master's degree, hardworking. He has met his goals at the end of the year. And then this exam can come in because Lolutamid is an added value. Now you're going to go sit down and test. When Suleiman tests and he passes, you have that record there, the position becomes available, then obviously you can figure out who qualifies to it. Nobody's going to question that. But the point that I'm trying to raise is this. So what are they going to do? They have to go to this matrix system. They look at who has the qualifications, how many years you've served, have you met your goals, do you have a master's degree? Then they say, okay, this person has met the goals. Then you go to the next one. Somebody is hardworking, they have a master's degree, but they're not dedicated to the service. You give them an assignment, you give them goals, they haven't met their goals. Then you have to train that person to make sure that they're able to elevate themselves to the first level, which is the first matrix. The third matrix is people are dedicated, they're very smart, but they're not hardworking. They just don't want to do the things that you want them to do. Again, you're looking at their records. Should that person be promoted? Probably not. Should we train that person? Yes, they have to go through some section of trying to get them to understand that law enforcement is XYZ, and we want you to be able to buy into the system. The third one is those people that are not dedicated. They don't give you hard work. They don't give you the money that you pay them, and they don't have the requisite skills. They're not educated. Those people need to be sieved out. Pay them a handsome salary and let them retire so you can start moving people up. It is a saturated system that they have to apply a matrix system where they can promote people who deserve to be promoted. The ones that they figure after 25, 30 years have not been elevated, can't do it, fail and halis new them. Let them go create a security company, but have the government didn't them back so they can supplement the police in areas like crime in the cities.
Suleiman, thank you so much. Tey man suma liggéey mooy dama leen di jox background information bi ngeen koy analyze. Now I'm going back to force discipline bi Suleiman wax. Gis nga si jamono yi Jawara, there was real command and control and discipline was put in check. Those structures and mechanisms are still available, while police deviated from it. Dina leen jox example. Si jamono boobu, so a disciplinary infraction, dañ lay charge bi dañ lay yóbbu to orderly room and they take a disciplinary action, but it stays in your file. There are a certain number of charges, so you will not be eligible for promotion. Which means anyone that is serious and want to make policing a career, you will be dedicated and you will be self-disciplined. Bobu benara. The other one is telulu beta imunifi. So join a police. Your first 5 years is probation. And within that probation period, if you prove not to be disciplined and efficient, munnañ la discharge. Munnaño banya renew engagement. That is one way of weeding out people. So after 5 years, you are supposed to re-engage. Bala you approve re-engagement, then you set a file. Nyata charge sheets and those charge sheets would have been based on some punctuality, professionalism, and a lot of other considerations. Why, for instance, Bunda charge for not likely to be an efficient police officer, Hamalme you are gone. Those are ways from Numula Dindifov. And that probation, that they 15 years, every 5 years, Dangawara Nakalati.
Evaluation.
Then I re-engage.
Yep.
And no one wants to career seriously. You will. Then so they may pass a fofu. Lady, Yangi, probably an NCO category. léegi nit wala soo demee ba sub inspector you no longer need to re-engage foofu léegi naka lañ lay evaluate again dañ lay evaluate because dañoo seet léegi su fekkee ni man maa Suleiman ñëpp emoon nañu rap in terms of exam we have the same results am nañ equal training waaye benn opportunity moo amoon dañoo go back to the record Aziz ne si jamono ne amoon na fi some disciplinary issues Suleiman na throughout his career amu ko ba fi tey kon Suleiman have precedent over Aziz. So all of those things
looks like
under those mechanisms, why when police fail to implement them, those are overtaken by time. When they fail to implement those things, they start to tell you, oh, they are overtaken by time. We cannot, meet Munna de Flubon and become a good person. Yes, they can. But at least doing fighting a defon na Lubon. So,
okay, so nyaka discipline be the system itself, the people in the system, they encourage it. That's why it's happening now. Because the way it is, the way you sound like there, Aziz Moi, because it looks like the police system is a very, very good, well-organized, structured system, it used to be. But nowadays, I think if I was you, Mr. Soljeng or Aziz, I would not let this happen. Honestly, I'm a police officer. I'm a former police officer. If I see anybody who is trying to tarnish that image of my profession or how I present myself, I'm coming out to name the names to say, hey, listen, hey, the police soldier, I would not let it
the issue is, even when you say these things like now, some of them, in their myopic minds, then you feel nehenna yo daglen anyan bugulo henna promotion binlendio or henna hamga. You very dal.
No, but this is a profession, Mohammed.
Yeah.
This is what you have done, and you were a police officer before. You can
for instance, Minister of Interior, do former IG.
Yes.
He should know this thing. So IG be warona nyone the father of this mass promotion. Warona toga mom. Look, Banyumanga promote officers, but what is the need for this mass promotion?
But is he answerable to this?
For the police, let them more improve with the police within the next 5 years, etc. So
very interesting here is he answerable to the police or the interior minister?
Can we say that a little bit?
Is responsible. IGB should be answerable to the interior minister.
Yeah, but is he at the minute? This is my correction.
Well, I don't know. Hamga nitki dal man lima go moy nitki ude binim la gisi nunala OLA. Hamga time bobu you have officers like Jamme Konta, ngam officers like Nikul, hamga officers yo so dege sen tour yo danga tremble in the first place.
Exactly.
Land motor because ning fonke ak ning carry out sen bopa ak sen profession. Man ma wara neka fofu mange neka couple bale mange neka sergeant bale manko promotions hamga teda mom diko jox promotion koku nakala ma respecté. It's not gonna happen. Koku nakala mo respecté other senior officers because hamna ne suñ ko charge yobu ko disciplinary yow di nga ñew nga xéxal ko o man dina ñew xéxal ko because dafa xamne amna support.
Wow.
So man ko encourage pour mu disobey or disregard.
Suleiman Soma may dinala muna jo where the breakdown started.
But before the breakdown, Aziz, we'll come to you, Solbaji, in a minute.
That discipline more among why be Yaya knew Lolu dafa change because most of the indiscipline.
Aziz, Yaya understand nane Yaya da jël junior officers mu promote len xam nga above senior officers. Why Yaya musuta encourage police officers di nekantu?
No. Why?
So you cannot blame Yaya for that.
Xam nga man blame mako dama lay won fan la police divorcé from. I am kind of bringing fan la police deviated from the
Aziz, Balama, Alanga continue. I just want to solve Mubahe Nyofi. Kon nekantu it's a practice in the police now. And Sol.
Of course. Elect demal office IGP nga said nga talk maybe for an hour or two nga said nakala policy difa duge di gena nga dem office hen I don't know. I'm not saying IGP mu ngi nekk xale yi, but discipline bi xam nga Windows xam nga the world talk. Then they talk fi nit ñi would say things, they would comment, they would say things. Obviously it's like nekku ci police bi waaye xam nañ li fa xew. People will tell you Naila call, the Naila text, the Naila got the information.
Right.
You
So
know
this
everything.
This is serious. This is serious. Sol, this is serious. So this is a common practice. So this is a common practice in the Gambia police, Sol.
Time bobu ñom sankum baji ak ñoñu suñ génné even though henna sen janga sori wul waye do duga office sankum baji be fekk police jigen mu ngi to fofu di waxtaan. Da nga ñëw nga gis senior officers commissioners police jigéen ñëw xam nga am case am ñëw pour report yow commissioner bi nga invite ko yóbbu ko sa office te fekk mu ngi di la junior officers. So xam nga it's like all those things, not only yaa ngi lose respect bi within the service itself waaye yaa ngi lose public trust bi because noonu lañ laa gisee. So it's like someone just said, "Mune hamga police presence in the Gambia, all they do moy ñaanantu." So instead of getting for the prevent crime,
Right. So
or hanga, they control traffic. Why yang fa di ñaanantu?
Yeah. Mustafa.
It's
So
serious.
this is where the conversation really needs to take hold. In my opinion, that people who were in the law enforcement are talking about the problems that existed during their time, and they believe those problems continue to exist to today.
Precisely.
And what Aziz just said, and I listened to Mr. Suleiman, my Tom, this is not a difficult thing to fix, but it goes back to Suleiman Jeng di wax ni. I think this is a major problem. Are we using our female officers who should be just as respected as some kind of tool to satisfy our egos? And then when it comes to discipline, we're not able to enforce discipline. And that is the rot of the police department. And somebody was asking the question, Yoyad Mustafa, you were asking Aziz or Saul, how did the IGP have the latitude to promote all of these people without going to the Ministry of Interior? And you asked, who does he report? He reports to Adama Barrow. The Minister of Interior is it's a political position. There's nothing he can do. If Adama Barrow thinks that having more police officers and promoting them is what is going to make him look good come election time, then that's what he's going to do.
Anything to do with Adama Barrow, to be quite honest.
It's a hypothetical. It's a hypothetical, but I'm just saying.
Tom,
wow. I'm gonna hit a couple points. Sometimes, yes, we can use these conjectures, but there's a history to the way the IGP and Adama Barrow have been behaving, whether we like it or not, but there's a history. So the accusation may not be factual, but then I'm conjecturing. My point is this: the police, law enforcement should make sure that they earn the respect of the public. If they do not earn the respect of the public, we can have anarchy in that country. That if somebody has committed a crime, you take him through the system and make sure that due process takes hold. That if people were to be arrested, danga dem nga rila ko kumeranda right samine ko li lañ la tuumal li lolu nga def ken du la def dara danga dem taxaw ci kanami judge and present your case. If the judge says you're free, you go free. Su judge bi waxee ne yow danga def dara nga wara dem ci yoon, lolu la yoon bi dogal. Du doomi Adama Barrow, du doomi Aziz, du doomi Suleiman Jengo Mustafa, ku tooñ daal yoon bi dafa dem. What the law says is what we're going to do. And the police, ñaari yëf yoo xam ne lu important la nag. Police yi sol yoo xam nga time boobu noonu soo solee uniforme ku la gis naw la xale yu ndaw yi daan dem school suñu la gisee nga sol sa uniforme rek ñu ne man bëgg naa nekk police. Is that what is happening today? They don't have good material to wear. Seen uniforme yëpp a xooteeku ñu ngi pënda. They don't have the discipline that was. Loolu laa fi waxoon keroog ne police yi su ñëwaan time boobu Aziz in the morning at the Banjul police station, they line up. They get inspected.
Uniform, just pour add si li nga wax soo xoolee prison services si léegi they are more presentable when they wear their uniforms and they are out in the public than the police.
Yeah, well, so, Hamgalulu, this is the decay and decadence of the police department. Fee, Mustafa, fee, your Hamgalulu in the UK.
Yes.
Every time a police officer, unless if they went to a chase or they got involved into some traffic violation and the car got totaled or something happened, you don't see a police officer's vehicle driving in the streets of London, having mud on it or having a scratch on it. There's money that is spent to make sure that the image of the police is looking good. You can't hold people accountable for violating traffic when your vehicle has tailgate lights that are broken, or your uniform is not presentable in the public. How do you expect people to respect you?
And Balalema just makes my quiet summations. Some quiet summations, Manyo. For me, as is, to be honest, not Mungi talk. Why I know.
Mustafa Suleiman mute not it. Mute. Did he mute?
Yeah, I think he's got some background noise, nowadays.
Okay.
You never know.
Okay.
So sorry, Balalema, just a little interruption. Lima moine, hamga time bobu as is one before coup d'etat bi amon na ñaari British police officers ñoo xamne ñu ngi leen attaqué ki ci training school bi keneen ki nekk fale ci head office bi di advise IGP draw policies ak yoyu. Assis has both experience, practical experience. Assis dafa def police management up to a master's level.
Yeah.
So you don't need to employ Assis. Why just allow him mulena help? Use go as a consultant. He's not asking for anything. He's not asking for employment. He's not asking for payment. Why should you bediwa? Assis is like same positions labuga. That material is available. The current IG could have utilized that to develop, his era. Besubaye police be dinañ ko now. Disney key knew na he has transformed the police even out of the police security sector reform. Why bugun ko hamne dafa am ham o buganela ra dimbali. How man that then they mandi, how man that weruñ, how man lan mo len jot, to be honest.
Dara jotud len Suleiman, xam nga lu xew. In their opinion, ñom dañ fogné Aziz Sulena wax di len dimbale, di len dolel. Somehow that belittles them. Mustafa, the uniform issue has to be addressed. Police attire has to be addressed. The police officers need to be paid a commensurate salary that can give them the decency to live their lives. They have to have benefits, medical, healthcare, vision, dental, all of those things need to be given to the police officers. And then you apply the things that Aziz is talking about. There has to be discipline. People who work must be rewarded. Those who don't work will either have to have some training or they'll be sieved out of the system because they just don't fit. And it's not an insult. If you want to be a military officer in the UK or here, you go through some training, physical training, and if they find out that you're not fit for this, maybe it's because of your shoe size or the way you fit at, all of these things are factored in. They just feel like putting you in there is going to be traumatizing because you're not going to be able to function. Then you need to go. Find the people that have the requisite skills to serve in the police for the love of country, and you pay them handsomely so that the people can look at them and respect them. You see what I'm saying? If you don't put those things in place, and then you curb corruption, the police should not have to do this traffic check and all of this nonsense. It's none of their business to do that. They have all these traffic checks everywhere, Mustafa. I just heard the president of the Gambia Transportation Union, Umar Sise. This is sad. Ako, police men katara silo kang checkpoint shoulder. Ika kodo men soro niya be konte. Wale siata IGP la salary. This is sad. Why are they doing that? Because they're not paid handsomely. You're not, the police need to be taken care of, but you hold them accountable. And I guarantee you that if you do that, the police will do their work and crime will go down. Bottom line, we must not frustrate our youth, Mustafa. If we frustrate our youth by, number one, keeping people who shouldn't be in the system, continually being there for years and years and years and not delivering the results, you keep promoting them or you keep keeping them there, and the young people are frustrated, they don't have the opportunity to join the police because you're trying to favor other people. It's a problem. The other thing is we must educate our children. Nindiningol karanta. nde feda ngam jigita menna Mustafa lata menna at some point dindigol beele yenta tala school ni mem kebata amanta amanyana tala aman fit to go to school, you train them and give them jobs. We can create so many opportunities for our young people there. Either you tie a certification or you put them at the UTG. They have to go to school, clear the streets, impose a curfew, and also tell or help these forex bureaus to create some avenue of having security cameras, but train them on how to protect themselves. I can buy, Mustafa, with this criminal activity member Keka, I can buy a, what do you call it again? A stun gun, or not a stun gun, but this pepper spray for $15. You keep it there, it saves you. If somebody comes and you suspect they're about to rob you, you spray it on them and you will have an exit route. These things are police. This should be working to train these people to make sure that they understand how to protect themselves. But if the police are not doing their job, you cannot develop a country under these circumstances. I'm on KNO, Mustafa. With that, Malbulal, because I have to take my daughter to work. But Mustafa, continue the campaign and keep up the good work, Aziz and Suleiman Jeng. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Cheers, so.
Silang abemunta konte da male betarla jang.
Let's summarize it, Thundi.
Mustafa, yalo ninga summarize.
Aziz, Solbaji, before you go, can you give us an extra 5 minutes? You know.
Absolutely. I'll do that while I'm driving. I'll mute. Yeah.
Ninga summarize, ninga bante. Nta lonna security sector reform. Abe tembe da munto. And what needs to be done differently.
Okay, Aziz, can we do it this way so that we will try and reach out to the PRO once again or somebody in the service to be part of us sometime around next week or so for us to continue with this mass promotion thing? That are just my thoughts, you know, to be fair.
Okay, I mean, it's fine. But
because we want to do justice to this, because we need to do justice to the topic, you know, to be fair.
Okay, I want to focus more on the evolution of the policing service.
Okay.
From the First Republic to the Second Republic to what we are now today. You know, I talked about this discipline and control mechanisms that was in place.
Yes.
When the Jammeh era came, I mean, I'm a kind of a historian, especially with the history of the police. When Jammeh era came, those that were ill-disciplined and were denied promotion during Jawara's time quickly aligned themselves with the AFPRC regime and then accused the police command of being corrupt, of being biased. Jammeh, without any scrutiny, just removed people randomly, break down everything, promoted people who were close to the regime. Indiscipline became random. Then, police Soldata Muneke, the police command, in a bid to address that, ikonyaje discipline man soto because officers charge men comment $250 bututs near infraction, okay, near a breach of discipline commit. Ike charge $250. Iko wole do yata wala na discipline man soto. So they increase it to 100. Atata for sign maybe 1,000. At the time, the amount, the money is not significant. Then significant is the record. Because if it goes into your file, it will affect your promotion. Now, kodo nim tuje, having they charge la 50 butus lele, it doesn't matter. But once the record is in your file, you will not be promoted. Or near a certain charge soto, you should at least forfeit promotion for a number of years. Any serious officer, left to progress, will avoid that. But Yemuneke, Imana Woke, they exchange it for higher money. So, honey, charge 5,000 lella. Once you find your promotion, not your promotion. Yeah, the indiscipline not. adunia jibe the spirit of a police disciplinary action is to control. It's a tool that they use to control and to incentivize good behavior. In the sense that ning imakeku, you will forfeit promotion. And someday, ibe say la suoko na ila musoko ko barite ni Mustafa Ale Berankini. Ato le duntanyo la police. Sila ngate fela ate musaji no. Ite do. Start to say, ni moli njawiyane. No. Because Mustafa was disciplined. But in Natana wo be bondi, sa in Natana ni system soto. Wo system kono fanan, police on Natana to start challenging ko. Mune ya tina, police te futula. Nuto police te futula. Asal the relationship soto outside, but the police te futula. So you were challenge, and of course, there was no kind of justification. So police all the master takafutu. But
okay, as is matu janika jamfajana. So follow to police all bukafutu nalba service.
No.
Okay. Why?
No. I don't say for a starter dame barinta mari for.
Ha starter mundole mona na why? And man starter
mundole. After 81 towards 89 or mafamana otola start. Asekenak aketa asotota police all daman katara kanola even senior officers but wokake in secretly. Maybe junior officers that's fine, but senior officers wokake in secretly. But it became so open. It became so open.
Now it is.
Bari tinyaro famoketa daming most. I'm going to name this person.
Please.
Usman Sonko la time. Usman Sonko, when he was IG, recruited so many females. He created the police basketball team and brought everyone based on sporting skills. I mean, sports is very important, but into the primary function given is not sports. Into crime control, will function. But he brought in a lot of females, created the female basketball, he created, of course, the soccer team. But Aymenul Sambanan, at the same time, he was preying on them. And you see them walk into the IG's office anyhow they feel. You cannot even tell them anything. Then started promoting.
The police indiscipline started when they started massively employing female officers.
No. Ninga Fodron, Abekela we are targeting the female. It started when Yaya Jammeh came, and when people that were wanting for disciplinary issues aligned themselves with the regime and were able to be promoted. And people were now being promoted not based on discipline and performance, but based on regime loyalty. That afolota word. Kun wajabita, when now every IG have their own agenda. Sonko, and I mean Usman Sonko, brought in a lot of female, and he was preying on them. He was preying on them. I don't need to say anything, but in menu ya long ya kalamutari. And that has been ongoing. And then started to promote people randomly. Now, this time around, there is no kind of strategy, there is no justification, it's just like promote. Yeah. Hana tambita police musola, you are well dressed. Ako samala promote. But solely kumadole majang about uniform. Uniform fanan.
Ha, Yamos, Aziz Jani kana uniform to. Lafte mako jang, please, because jang are important na bagele. Mass promotion on the mass fenkol kana musul sambanang because kami dia mo jang wala mass promotion nyindi. Yeah. So mass promotion nying ani nyim musu Usman Sonko musul sambanang, ke dundi in the service and then some of them are ke jorang ulti. Ando yamira B Sidi Ture mune ya dung nying promotion oto wala fo ate bulo bi jela bam fa bulo tije fo aya kalamta le fo ama kalamta fo kuma kan bota munto le fo interior minister ya kalamta le fo akete no nyaadi le mun justification la bije Aziz
nte fe min sidi man sina kacade adum man la fina fem fo ma me alon ka man so
yeah
sidi ye president le tarajan a president le tarajan that successive IGs members were involved, before him were carrying out massive promotions. And police who benefited from that felt they are the best IGs. One of them is Yankuba Sonko. He created mass promotions. Yankuba Sonko, I'm going to name his name. Yankuba Sonko even went as low as Ning police will pass out. He comes and determines who goes where. You are the IG, you don't need to do that. But that is exactly what he did. So the next IG after him had no choice because Minamam will promote. He's going to be seen as the bad IG. He too created mass promotions. The following IG, the same. What is left? CD has no choice but to do it. Otherwise, he will not get the support of the men, he will not get the loyalty. He's going to be seen as the bad one. Katubirin yondol beja wolka promotion ke. Ite na te cool data ya so. Ite fe promotion manjawya. What they could have done was that rather than promotion, solely memfojan improve their quality of service and living standards. Ila pay increase based on performance. Make sure they get health insurance. Let them get risk allowance. Let them get all those other risk allowances that are attached to operational cost. You can do that. A police sergeant can earn as good as a current police commissioner without necessarily you having to create that rank. Because memo rank comes with some authority and resources. What a man sort of. Because B, most of those people that are promoted, among resources sort of to carry out that the function of that position, and they become redundant, the rank becomes disrespected. And the resources that they need include preparing them, training them. Police can come up with a cut-off mark. For minimum, before you become an AIG, you must have a diploma in public, local governance and public administration. So that at least you are prepared. Because at the level of that AIG, your role will be administration, strategic planning, and direction. But under the thing is, you have very, very smart police officers within the Gambia Police Force. Me alonko I karanta yo makamoso, bari munemu atol nata saini ntole meta jam the katala, touching. Some of the officers that are promoted B, ndema moje me alonko me belonde, bari alonko the two AIGs, and I have good high respect for them. But in master's degree sort of in any field. But even if you if you want to create that, you prepare the person, the substantive holder, by sending them for training, train them adequately, give them the requisite resource. I am in for female empowerment, but empowerment must come with training. and not just giving them ranks randomly. For me, that is the problem. Now, why is this happening? And where is the Ministry of Interior in all of this? Where is the National Security Office and National Security Advisor in all of this? This is where I want to say, a lot has been done in terms of security sector reforms, but a lot needs to be done. The oversight mechanisms are still not functioning. And it begs the question, imagine if police were independent today. They are not accountable to anyone, and they just choose to abuse office. Who is there to stop them? Given this amount of resource abuse, I wonder what we can do. So again, I want to reiterate, incentivizing people for their work and encouraging them and rewarding them is very important. It does not have to result in a rank increase. Rank increase, especially now that you have this pyramid, it has the potential to delay communication. Because if you have 10 people to communicate to before a decision can be made, it impacts service delivery. It weakens operational effectiveness.
Mustafa, I have to leave you guys. I gotta go. I have a meeting at 2:00, so I'll catch up with you for next week. Okay.
Thank you. Cheers.
Keep up the campaign. Keep up the campaign. Thank you.
Cheers. So, all right. As is us today now, but before we go is 1700 now at the minute. Before we go, Janim Bitala Aziz. Along Kuku, aka sorry 1900. Kuku aka. It is extremely important. Aka important nyakotole. Ning moliela observation on ila final thoughts for ila konoto dial. But more comments kejang. Thank you all for your comments and contribution. Aziz Asan Jeteko, Aziz Bojang would have been a good addition to the Office of the National Security. With his experience and expertise were needed to reform our security institutions. Suleiman Jeng is another experienced man in the field to enhance that security sector reform the Gambia so badly needed. Suleiman Jeng, Honorable Saul Jeng, and Aziz. So Aziz, you've heard that. Saul must be watching behind the background, but that's one of the comments you got. But Aziz, your final thoughts on this whole topic today, ila konoto dia and your observation, because you could be caring, but nisang mako how resolutions saying resolve no nyadile and muna nyanda kela, because discipline and structure and yin baby caring yemin fojang dangayal ko police kunna bunya bije bakele horomo bije bake follow pare saying nyaji be ma fati jede but amanke ko abenu nyamen follow andum sol jeng ya fala diamo ko ni defana ya fol diamo ko iko nanyol da bije nanyol da do yalla jama ni tulbo ko min kono do bije decision making do bije kala fi dunna modol bul ñokono la andum ñemmu sector le timi alonko molla life and properties ko wolle kanta kaje ko woy tanka kamo tanka wo ñante hakulu lo wodo wo doku kende balti de hani alkiyama fango maybe barajo batarle jelani wo si fali bar bitlo ni aje wo ka ñati len kula mi alonko amanke kontanoti Aziz, you should put your feet down pour aje ko hey dem police ko role de dal kam no fotanti kana police ol tuti ñam. So your final thoughts on the topic title, Aziz?
I am very much passionate about this. My final thought may end up being another long speech. The insist to kind of bring out, to lay out the context. Lafta pour lamoy lalu, isalo mune mu the challenges indivieta dame and what could be done to correct this. to Saul's point, Katu Suleiman Baji Kujamal le majam, but I uniform fanama. I don't want the exhaust. I don't uniform kumaya tabat. I don't the uniform la kumaya for you. Yeah, the uniform is prescribed in the Police Act. Man be for the car to sign comment coming for police or mean imam men implement no careful is overtaken by time. Your body uniform is prescribed exactly and all the insignias men tatarlaka. Be the police or uniform, malo if it has been gazetted, approved and gazetted, malo. But the implication of that, I will tell you. Being police or man proper uniform do, and when I say proper uniform, not only I kultur do wala uniform or do wala the rest is not complete. Being a man proper uniform do I arrest. You can resist. And you can go to court and say, may I arrest police on is a militia. And you can rest your case on that the Police Act, ye nine foko, police o nyanta nine dunna nine mu police o la taman sero. Nyemme yen arrest amawo taman sero ama dodo soto at the time. Oto uniform kumayata. And police olu over time have started changing uniforms. Whether they have gone to get that approval, malo, but something needs to be done. And the approved uniform needs to be gazetted. Now, coming back to Munenyan Takela, my focus will be with the Public Service Commission. By the B, among any other oversight, effective oversight, police oversight body. So, at the level of the Parliament, Malanga effective oversight. So today, they do their work, but they don't want to be seen to be criticizing the police because that means you are criticizing Adam Abba. Yo, Bari, in Yantamenkela, the critical questions that should be asked of the police and policing, Muka Woje, Adumang, any institution at all the levels, Mayor Lonko is putting those critical questions across the police. And what are those critical questions? Na jelle dundi police reform kono fobi. What is the outcome? Remember dundi je, what did we get in return? Na men sort of, is it worth it or not? The other question is, could we have a similar thing? Na men sort of sign thing. Funds are sort of no without necessarily increasing resources. The third thing is, what are the alternatives? Handing police this is what we think. Alafo could give us 3 other alternatives, including maintaining the status quo. Because in management, Margaret Thatcher many argument killing and I like it. If you keep doing things regularly, you should have the competence to the extent that you will not need more resources to do it. Niaje like mobile phones, initially Nina Teka, Idaka Kolea, but with that time, Idaka Tala, right? A series Daka Tala. Because Adadala now have the competence to produce en masse without requiring more resources. So police fana, if they think they are doing very well, why do they think they need more resources? Why do they think they need all these ranks? What would the ranks deliver in terms of crime management? What outcomes would they deliver? Because memu promotion kakenyame is like, in fact, they promote you out of efficiency. So you are very good in traffic. You have a good public relations because you are on the ground. They promote you as a commander, take you out of the public view. Now they bring in somebody. Why can't they find a way to incentivize you and still leave you to continue to do what you're doing? Until we have a critical mind at the level of cabinet and at the level of PMO who will question the police, police will always use security threat as a cover to justify their request for more resources. Especially we are coming to the elections. They will tell you the next election is Abedula. We need more police officers. But Abedula muneba dundila. Hanintara Abedula. Is there any other way we can use? Even like mechanisms like dialogue, political dialogue, Purakana do, and we do away with the increment of resources. Be as it stands, the Gambia police force, our strength is conservatively, I can say, is 7,000. Calculate that against a population of 2,500. We have, honestly, the lowest ratio. And the internationally recommended ratio is at least 500 persons to a police officer. But if for a country near long control, crime is not in the increase from what we are told by the police. Why do we then need to increase more police officers? The other thing is, do we have the resources to match the size of the police? Why not, rather than creating all these ranks and promotions and recruitment, why can't we take those resources and buy materials, increase vehicles, increase communication equipment, increase or improve living standards, conditions of service? At the level of the police manager, these are the kind of thinking that one would expect. That at least, Mustafa, stop me in Wato City. I am passionate. Stop me in Wato City. I am very, very much passionate.
No, in fact, there is here.
Okay.
I think there is joining the comment box saying very true as is they use politics to justify security hype. So thank you, Day.
But Mustafa, let me refer to one of the comments. The person called me out and I really appreciate it. He said, Brother Sol, Aziz was given a position at Office of National Security. The position was reserved for him for many months until he finally decided he is not leaving Canada for Gambia. Well, yes, and thank you so much for calling me out. That's for another conversation. But we are looking at the solutions. We are looking at the solutions, right?
Yes.
These solutions don't have to be anytime difficulties sort of with crime control, we just need to add more men. No, we should look at what is causing the problem and whether there are other ways that we can resolve it, and not necessarily increasing the size of the workforce or creating more ranks. For ranks, I have said this enough. Improve their pay, improve their conditions of service. Make sure that a sergeant can, when they retire, can have a decent pension to be able to live off on it without necessarily having to seek another job. Reward police officers that are on frontline duties. Promotion should be based on output, and that output should be the amount of time you spend fighting crime on the streets, and not just because you are in the office. Create incentives for those general duty officers who do night duties. Their pay should be more than the ordinary other ranks who stay in the office serving coffee or typing papers. Reduce the size of licensing. We do not need to train police officers 6 months, feed them for 6 months, only to be drawing license receipts. It's a waste. We don't need to have a police, construction unit. Construction is not our competence. We can have a small unit of 2 or 5 individuals with different trades who will be doing maintenance. But when you have a whole unit dedicated to construction, it creates corruption. Many senior officers got their houses built through those resources. It's not fair, it's corruption. These are the kind of things that we need. But I hope and pray that the PMO will listen to this, because I don't think this is only at the level of the police. The personnel management office need to hear this, and they're the ones that can put a check on this. They are the ones that can put scrutiny on this. If they don't have the capacity, they need a DEX officer who is familiar with security sector management. At that level, Cabinet also needs an advisor on security sector management who will always advise the president. That is what is lacking. So there is no oversight. And I don't think the Ministry of Interior have any say in this. I'm not saving anyone here, but from the way I am seeing things, I don't think the Ministry of Interior is doing it. And now promotions are becoming a competition. The next we are waiting for is Gambia Fire Services, drug law enforcement, prison services, the list goes on. And then when that finishes, the next round comes, immigration and so on. Finally, the use of PIU. PIU is not meant to be doing frontline duties. They are formed police units that provide backup service to the general duty units, which means if the general duty unit come across a difficult situation, they'll call on the backup comes, deals with it, and go back. We don't need to have PIUs all over the place. There is an argument. I was talking to a police officer and he said, no, PIU are more effective than the police. And I said, yes, because you gave them all the resources that you needed to give to general duties. PIU are not supposed to be frontline duties. They're not. And that's why in the police organization, they should be under the auxiliary services. And again, this is where now it becomes a problem. You cannot have AIG PIU, AIG support services, when PIU are supposed to be under that support services. The problem again, and it comes back to the same, and here now I'm going to look at the police management. If you want to bring CD Toure as the IGP, it's fine, and I think he's doing a wonderful job. But the president is not helping CD Toure. He should have at least minimum send CD Toure for a senior police management course, even if it is for 3 months, to understand police administration and police management. That did not happen. That did not happen with previous IGPs. And it's continuing. And again, to CD now, I'm saying, CD, if you want to recruit a replacement for you, start by now, start identifying that replacement, try to train them, start to train them. It doesn't cost much, but it costs a lot when you don't train the individual. But if you say go ahead, I go again.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's very good. Fine. Na police deployment again. So I left Akana deeply on that. Under normal circumstances, the admin staff, when I say admin, that is those that are doing office work, the ratio to operation staff should be 10% of the admin and 90% operation. But the way it is set up, with all this large number of police, you still don't feel the police presence in our streets. because promotions and the ranking structure is consuming most of them into administrative role. 10% of the police workforce will nyanta katara at the headquarters. And when I say headquarters, it's not only Banjul, at divisional headquarters combined. That is to say, maybe more willy killing maybe maybe 10% of that willy killing, if it is 100 people, only nyantakela admin. The rest should go down on the ground. But we have more people doing admin than those doing real crime fighting. And this is why we are now relying on PIU, because police presence is not available. The reform have done a lot, but the basic things, when police will need that is still missing, Mustafa. Pocket notebooks. Ntele bukaji. Ndo wokuma ya tabaki. Radio communication. Akuma ya tabaki. Ha mosa foko ha na mobile communication sotole. Bari mobile communication are limitation sotole. Because you cannot reach too many people at one time. With radio communication, radio is tuned to that frequency abamwele. When you look at what happened in Faraba and in Sanya, you can say, the police were overwhelmed because among the required resources, among the mechanisms, the tools, to call up more resources in good time. So if you are the commander on the ground, you have to call your maybe operation somewhere. Ninga atara wola telephone mantara tamakan at that time. It has to. Whereas if you have a radio and you call mobile bamuela and the mobile se respond and the response time should be reduced significantly. Obeyman sort of. Saying, I want to end with a disclosure, a self-disclosure. Because in the FANAC, I have benefited from these promotions. Aduman la fisama moyen call out kafoko ite men kafo ite fana family are promoted. Yes, I benefited from a promotion. And I can tell you the story of my promotion. Ntedunta police wato menna o jamano fana along. In as much as the system was much better than today, there's still nepotism and other things. Ndema molong police. Ndema do as a graduate. What do I have to do to survive and stay relevant? Immediately in a recruitment bank, I took up a corresponding course with a police organization in US. It's called Professional Investigators Bureau. I had my certificate on criminal investigations, hoping that that will get me into the CID. I had some challenges, but now reflecting back on them, that was the right thing. Then, because I did very well in that course, the organization decided to send that certificate to the Minister of Interior so that I can be rewarded. Maybe they also wanted to sell their product. I don't know. But I thought that was the good thing. They sent the certificate to the Ministry of Interior. Then Kama Abaji was the minister and ML Oba was the permanent secretary. Kama milited on the certificate that they should kind of call me and award me because this is a good achievement. ML Oba wrote, no, he's not going to do that. He called me and gave me my certificate. He said, we are not going to reward you because this was not a police sanctioned course. You did it on your own. We really appreciate it, but it was not sanctioned. This was not within our budget. It was not within our strategy. I felt disappointed. But now I know that this is in line with administration. He did the right thing. That's how policing was during that time. When I finished, now of course, in later years, I ended up becoming, going to the criminal investigations department. I did very well at the criminal investigations department. And every time there is a promotion, I am not promoted. I have even served as the station officer for that office, which should have been at least a minimum rank of inspector, but I was still a cop. One day, one of the commanders, the music band commander, Mbaye, who know me very well, went to Press Jan and said, I cannot understand why this person cannot be promoted. President said, bring his file. Brought my file, look at it, the only certificate I have is this one. He said, there's no sufficient ground for me to promote you. If you want promotion, I will send you to do a diploma in law. And I was really happy. I went and did my diploma in law at GTK. Yet I was not promoted because he was removed. But at least I appreciate that he did something. Tatin Baji, who I worked with for many years, came back from course and said, Aziz, you've been suppressed. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to promote you. He promoted me to ASP. Thinking that I will be happy, I went to him. Wallahi Aziz. I said to him, sir, I want you to tell me why you promoted me. He said, why did you say that? I said, I have not seen any evidence, and I want to be able to say to my colleagues that this is what I did or did not do to deserve this promotion. He said, Aziz, you are stupid. Why do you think you should be questioning? No one is going to question your efficiency. I said, where is it written? Mustafa, this is me. I said, where is that efficiency written? So that tomorrow I can have something and say, no, I did not go through those. I was promoted because of this. But, I mean, Tatin cannot give any reason. Although I know very well that even those that are promoted above me were literally my subordinates. But I wanted to send a clear message that promotion should be based on some criteria and not just from perceived random material. Then came another promotion for chief superintendent. They decided to put an exam, and I was so happy. That was Usman Sonko's time. They set up a promotion board and gave out a paper that you will do some exam, but you will also write a position paper on different topics in policing. I love that so much because I thought this now my moment to at least air out my frustration about what is not working and how things need to be. In that paper, the first thing I wrote is that although this paper is for promotion, I hope that even if it does not meet the standard for promotion, it will serve as a guide for the force going forward. That's the opening thing. Because I was not interested in promotion, but I was interested in the betterment of the force. Left at Janne, I don't want to sound as singing my own song. I want to say that Nkamemfo, I lived it, and I really, Aman start deal, Aman ke come Canada and change.
Thank you very much, Aziz. Much appreciated. Abaraka. Yo, butung lamoir lalu ni jiber lalu molbe dauda anibe watu to. Ninamu na civic education program mingasuro every Saturday. Sibito program o nyinkana. Kabo tala lulu UK time kata tala worola kanya wala fe jamani kacha diata. Ndoku nyol be minni katarajam. Kabondi ndai jobate. Aziz Bojang. Suleiman Jeng, Bamba Mas Kadim, Suleiman Baji, aning Alaji Sedi Baro. mini be katarajam timo mol be toyala bedanna janne wato en suni nala bedanna janne fo lokun nala inshallah sibiti nala room be mol be tentula. Special thanks and appreciation goes to mol me comments and contributions ke bedanna janne fo sibiti nala inshallah ke on Skype or radio and TV services. Na bale wala Mustafa Jame mimbe sirin program o kunna fo sibiti nala inshallah. Good evening.